What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actresses walks into what she thinks is a routine interview, only to face a host determined to tear her down on live television? The clash between Scarlett Johansson and Joy Behar on The View became one of the most talked-about moments in daytime TV history. By the end of this story, you'll understand exactly why security had to step in and escort someone off set. This isn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong. This is a masterclass in how fast things can spiral out of control when egos collide and the cameras are rolling. Make sure to subscribe and drop a comment, because you're not going to believe how this unfolds. The morning began like any other at the View studio. Scarlett Johansson arrived early, her publicist briefing her on what was supposed to be a light promotional chat for her upcoming film. She'd done hundreds of these, always poised, always professional. As she settled into the guest chair, adjusting her sleek black blazer, a production assistant called, "5 minutes to air." Across the table, Joy Behar flipped through her note cards. Something about her demeanor felt different, tighter, colder. The other hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah Haynes, and Sunny Hostin, were chatting casually. But Joy? She kept glancing up at Scarlett with a look that could only be described as predatory. The show's opening theme rolled. Whoopi welcomed viewers, the audience applauded, and when she introduced Scarlett, the applause swelled, warm, genuine. But Joy's smile? Forced, mechanical. "We're thrilled to have Scarlett Johansson with us today," Whoopi said. "She's here to talk about her new thriller. But I have a feeling we might cover some other ground, too." Scarlett smiled. "Thank you for having me. I'm always happy to be here." Then Joy cut in, sharp, deliberate. "I'm sure our audience would love to hear more than just about your movie. There are some questions about your career choices that deserve answers." The temperature in the studio seemed to drop. Scarlett's publicist shifted uneasily off camera. This wasn't part of the agreed-upon topics. "What specific questions are you referring to?" Scarlett asked, her voice calm but edged. Joy leaned forward. "Let's start with the elephant in the room. Your decision to take on roles that many people believe you had no business playing. Don't you think there's a pattern of you inserting yourself into stories that aren't yours to tell?" The other hosts exchanged uneasy looks. Sunny looked uncomfortable. Sarah tried to catch Joy's eye as if to say not now. Scarlett took a breath, steadying herself. "Every actor considers the roles they take very carefully. I've always approached my work with respect and authenticity," Joy pounced. "Respect and authenticity? That's interesting, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like opportunism. Taking roles that could have gone to actors who actually share the background of the characters you're playing." Whoopi tried to step in. "Maybe we should," Joy snapped. "No, Whoopi. This is exactly the kind of conversation we should be having. We talk about representation all the time, but when we have someone right here who's part of the problem, we're supposed to just smile and move on?" Scarlett's jaw tightened, but her tone stayed composed. "I understand representation is important, and it's a conversation worth having. But ambushing someone during what was supposed to be a promotional interview isn't the right way to do it." Joy laughed, cold and condescending. "Ambushing? This is journalism, sweetheart. If you can't handle tough questions, maybe you shouldn't be sitting in that chair." The word sweetheart hung in the air like a slap. Scarlett's eyes flashed. Her professional mask slipped just slightly. "I can handle tough questions just fine. What I have a problem with is being lectured by someone who came here with an agenda instead of a genuine interest in dialogue." Joy's voice rose. "My agenda is accountability. My agenda is asking real questions instead of softballing celebrities about their latest movie." Scarlett leaned forward now, matching her energy. "Then ask real questions. Ask about the craft. Ask about the industry. But don't pretend this is some noble pursuit of truth when all you're doing is chasing a viral moment." The studio fell silent. Even the camera crew hesitated, unsure whether to cut away or keep rolling. Joy's face flushed red. The tension was electric. And then, "Excuse me?" she snapped, her voice rising high enough to make the audience flinch. "Did you just accuse me of exploiting this for ratings?" Joy snapped. Scarlett didn't flinch. "I'm saying that if you genuinely wanted to have a serious conversation about representation in Hollywood, you would have told me before the cameras started rolling," she said firmly. "Instead, you ambushed me on live television. That tells me this is more about spectacle than substance. Sarah tried to step in, her voice calm and measured. Maybe we can shift gears and talk about how the industry has evolved. No. Joy cut her off, her tone razor sharp. I want to hear Scarlett explain why she thinks she can take any role she wants without considering the impact on marginalized communities. The air grew thick. Scarlett stared at Joy for a long moment before speaking. I think you're making a lot of assumptions about my values and my decision-making based on incomplete information, Joy scoffed. Incomplete information? The information is your filmography, the pattern of choices you've made. That's not incomplete, that's reality. And you've appointed yourself the judge of those choices? Scarlett asked coolly. Someone has to be. The words hung between them like a gauntlet. The other hosts looked mortified. The audience squirmed in their seats. Somewhere in the control room, a producer was probably sweating bullets. But neither woman was backing down. Scarlett leaned forward, voice low and deliberate. So you've decided you're the judge of my career. Tell me, Joy, what qualifies you for that? What's your background in acting? What roles have you turned down for the sake of representation? Joy's face flushed from red to purple. I don't need to be an actor to recognize problematic behavior when I see it. Problematic behavior, Scarlett repeated, leaning back with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You know what I find problematic? A talk show host who thinks she can publicly shame a guest without doing even the most basic research into their work or their advocacy. This isn't about your charity work, Joy shot back. Isn't it? Scarlett's voice finally rose. Because if you had done your homework, if you actually cared about the issues you're pretending to champion, you'd know I've spent years supporting diversity initiatives in film. You'd know I've used my platform to amplify marginalized voices. You'd know I've turned down roles because I believed they should go to other actors. Joy opened her mouth, but Scarlett didn't let her interrupt. But you don't know that, do you? Because this isn't about progress or dialogue. It's about you needing to feel morally superior, and you picked me as your target. How dare you? Joy hissed, her voice shaking. How dare you come on my show and lecture me about moral superiority when you're the one... Your show. Scarlett cut in sharply, turning to the others. I'm sorry, I thought this was The View, not the Joy Behar show. Are Whoopi, Sarah, and Sunny just props, or do they get to participate in this ambush too? Whoopi cleared her throat, trying to diffuse the tension. Let's all take a breath here. No, Whoopi, Joy barked, startling everyone at the table. I'm not going to sit here and let this privileged actress play the victim. Scarlett let out a short, incredulous laugh. There it is. The magic word, privileged. The instant way to shut down a conversation. Yes, I'm privileged. I'm successful. I've been fortunate. But that doesn't mean I forfeit my right to basic respect. And it definitely doesn't give you the right to attack my character based on your own assumptions. Joy stood now, her voice rising. Attack your character? I'm asking you to take responsibility for your actions. Scarlett rose too, matching her intensity. And I'm telling you your approach is hostile and counterproductive. If you want to talk about representation, let's talk. But don't pretend this is anything other than a performance. One designed to make you look good at my expense. Production assistants were gesturing frantically from off-camera. Several audience members had their phones out recording. The other hosts looked frozen in disbelief. Joy's voice cracked slightly as she shot back. You want to talk about performance? Your whole career is a performance, playing characters that aren't yours, telling stories that aren't yours, and acting shocked when people call you out. Scarlett stepped closer to the table, her composure slipping. You know what, Joy? You're right about one thing. I am performing right now. I'm performing civility in the face of someone who invited me here under false pretenses just to humiliate me. I'm performing patience for someone who clearly doesn't care about having a real conversation. False pretenses? Joy shrieked. Everything I'm saying is legitimate criticism. Legitimate criticism, Scarlett shot back, means asking questions and listening to answers. What you're doing is making accusations and getting angry when I don't confess to sins you've already decided I committed. Sarah tried one last time to intervene. Maybe we should move on and talk about Scarlett's new film. We're not moving on to anything, Joy interrupted, pointing directly at Scarlett. Not until she acknowledges the harm she's caused. The studio was dead silent. The harm I've caused? Scarlett's tone was incredulous. Joy, do you even hear yourself? You're talking about harm while you're actively trying to destroy someone's reputation on live television, based on your own personal grudges. Personal grudges? Joy nearly shouted. This isn't personal. This is about justice. Scarlett gave a short, humorless laugh. Justice? You want to talk about justice? Fine. Let's talk about the justice of ambushing someone who came here in good faith. Let's talk about the justice of using your platform to bully instead of having an actual conversation about the issues you claim to care about. Joy slammed her palm against the table, so hard that Sarah's coffee cup jumped, splashing liquid onto the table. Don't you dare call me a bully! Scarlett didn't even blink. Then don't act like one. The words hit like a slap. For a moment, Joy was completely speechless, her mouth opening and closing as if the words had physically knocked the air out of her. When she finally spoke again, her voice was low and trembling with fury. Get her out of here, Joy said to the production crew. Get her out of here now! Scarlett turned to her fully, disbelief flashing across her face. Excuse me? You're having me removed because I won't agree with your opinion of me? I'm having you removed, Joy snapped, because you're disrespectful and refuse to take accountability. Scarlett stared at her for a long, stunned moment, then slowly looked to the other hosts. Whoopi looked stricken. Sarah looked like she might cry. Sunny was staring down at her hands, silent. Scarlett exhaled sharply and spoke with quiet conviction. This is unbelievable. You invite someone onto your show, attack them personally, refuse to listen to their responses, and when they don't fold to your demands, you throw them out? Security! Joy barked. 2 security guards appeared at the edge of the set, clearly uncomfortable with the spectacle unfolding before them. The audience had begun murmuring, some rising to their feet, phones in hand, capturing every second. Scarlett looked at the guards, then back at Joy. This is who you really are, isn't it? When you can't win an argument with words, you use power to silence the other person. Get her out. Joy's voice cracked as she repeated the order. Scarlett stood, collected her purse, and straightened her blazer with calm precision. I don't need security to escort me. I can walk out on my own. As she turned toward the audience, many now applauding softly, her voice rang out clear and steady. Thank you all for witnessing this. Remember what you saw here today. She started toward the exit, but Joy couldn't resist one last jab. That's right, walk away. Just like you always do when someone calls you out. Scarlett froze mid-step. Slowly, she turned back to face Joy. The composure that had shielded her throughout the interview was gone. What replaced it was raw, unfiltered emotion. Even the guards hesitated. Scarlett's voice was quiet but carried to every corner of the studio. Walk away like I always do? Joy, I've been sitting here for 15 minutes trying to have a civil conversation with you while you've done nothing but attack me. I've answered your questions. I've defended my work. And I've treated you with respect, even when you've shown me none. Joy folded her arms, trying to look in control again. And now you're running away instead of facing the truth. Scarlett took a step forward, heels clicking on the polished studio floor. The truth? She repeated, her voice steady and sharp. You want to talk about truth? Let's talk about the truth of what just happened here. The room went dead silent. The audience stopped murmuring. Even the camera operators froze, lenses locked on Scarlett as she continued. The truth is, you invited me here under the pretense of promoting my film. Then you blindsided me with accusations you never intended to discuss in good faith. You didn't come to have a dialogue, Joy. You came to attack. The truth is, Scarlett said steadily, that when I didn't immediately agree with your characterization of my career, you became hostile and abusive. I wasn't abusive, Joy protested, but the conviction wasn't there. Scarlett gestured toward the other hosts. You interrupted your own co-hosts when they tried to steer the conversation somewhere productive. You called me sweetheart in a condescending tone, and you refused to listen to anything that didn't fit the story you already decided to tell about me. Joy's face flushed, not with anger this time. but embarrassment. "I was trying to hold you accountable," she said weakly. "No, Joy," Scarlett replied, her voice calm but firm. "You were trying to humiliate me." "There's a difference between accountability and public shaming, and what you did today was the latter." Whoopi finally spoke, her voice tentative. "Scarlett, maybe we can start over." Scarlett turned to her gently but firmly. "With all due respect, Whoopi, there's no starting over from this. Your co-host just called security to remove me because I wouldn't accept her version of who I am. That's not journalism. That's not activism. That's abuse of power." Joy took a step forward, her voice rising again. "You think you can just waltz in here and act like you're the victim?" Scarlett's tone sharpened, but her composure never cracked. "I think I can expect basic human decency when I accept an invitation to appear on a talk show. Apparently that's too much to ask." "You want to talk about decency?" Joy's voice turned shrill again. "What about the decency you owe to the communities whose stories you've appropriated?" Scarlett closed her eyes for a moment, gathering herself. When she opened them again, her tone was low, measured, and deadly serious. "Joy, I've tried multiple times to engage with you on the substance of those concerns. I've acknowledged the importance of representation. I've explained my own efforts to support diversity in the industry. But you're not interested in any of that, because it doesn't fit the narrative you've chosen to tell about me." "That's not true," Joy muttered, but even she didn't sound convinced. "Then prove it," Scarlett said, leaning forward slightly. "Ask me a genuine question about my work or my beliefs, and actually listen to the answer. Don't interrupt. Don't lecture. Just listen." Joy opened her mouth, then closed it again. For the first time all morning, she seemed truly at a loss for words. The silence stretched, heavy and awkward. Finally, Sarah cleared her throat softly. "Maybe we should just end the segment here." "No," Scarlett said firmly. "I want Joy to respond. She's spent the last 20 minutes telling me and this audience how wrong I am. I'm giving her the chance to have the conversation she claims she wanted." All eyes turned to Joy. The cameras were still rolling. The audience watched, motionless. Even the crew stood frozen. Joy began, faltering. "I think you should take responsibility for your choices." Scarlett didn't blink. "That's not a question, Joy. That's another accusation. And I've already addressed responsibility several times. You just didn't like my answers." Joy's shoulders sagged. "I don't know what you want me to say." "I want you to acknowledge that what happened here today was inappropriate," Scarlett said evenly. "That you invited me here in bad faith and tried to use your platform to humiliate me when I didn't fit your expectations." "I was doing my job," Joy said softly. "Your job," Scarlett replied, "is to interview guests, not berate them. Your job is to facilitate conversation, not shut it down when it doesn't go your way." Whoopi's voice broke the tense silence. "Joy, I think we need to take a commercial break." "No!" Joy snapped. "I'm not apologizing to her." The words hung in the air like a confession. She had just admitted there was something to apologize for. Scarlett nodded slowly. "And there it is, the truth you've been chasing. You know you were wrong. You're just too proud to admit it." "I wasn't wrong," Joy insisted. But the fire was gone from her voice. "Then why are you being asked to apologize?" Scarlett asked quietly. Joy looked around the studio, the crew, the audience, her co-hosts. For the first time, she seemed to see their faces, the disappointment, the disapproval, the quiet shame. "This interview is over," she declared, yanking off her mic and tossing it onto the table. "You're right," Scarlett replied coolly. "It is over, but not because you ended it. It's over because you never intended to have a real conversation in the first place." Joy stood frozen, clearly wanting to fire back, but nothing came. Finally, she turned and stormed off the set. Scarlett exhaled, then faced the remaining hosts. "Whoopi, Sarah, Sunny, I'm sorry you had to witness that. You deserve better from your co-host." Whoopi looked exhausted. "Scarlett, I apologize for what happened here today. That's not how we do things." "I know," Scarlett said softly. "I've been here before. It's always been professional. But today, this was something else entirely." She picked up her purse and turned to the audience, her poise fully restored. "Thank you for listening. I hope what you saw today gives you something to think about, how we treat each other in public discourse. As Scarlett walked off set with her head held high, the audience erupted into applause, some even standing, cheering. Behind her, the remaining hosts sat in stunned silence as the cameras kept rolling. The most explosive confrontation in daytime television history was over. But the conversation about what had just happened was only beginning. Joy Behar got the viral moment she'd wanted, just not the one she'd planned. And Scarlett Johansson had shown the world exactly what grace under pressure looks like.